So like I said, when the day that the man has born for the very first time to this earth, they didn't had this or they didn't had this need of computer, right? They had this basic needs to have a shelter neither ආවරණය වෙලා ඉන්න තැනක් ඕන වුණා. They need food uh, since they are feeling hungry, right? So they should survive from the others, or from the other animals and all these things like surrounding them, right? So that is how the man has evolved. Like he born to this earth and he get to know about this earth, and there was eras which we have passed on, like the Stone Age, so likewise there are several ages that the man has passed his life path, and he has traveled to a position where he is able to deal with the machines, right? So on that way, the skill that they have learned, which is related to the mathematics, was given them the requirement to have a machine that can do the computation, right? So like in the very first time, there were like little computations using the mathematics, and later when they learn how to do this, the math is getting complex with the time. So they may need, so they were having this need to have a machine to do the calculation on behalf of them, or like to make things easier for them, right? So in that research, they have invented this particular machine. Actually, it's a manual one, which you can see on the screen, which is called the abacus. So it is said that this abacus is used like 5,000 years ago, and there are arguments that it was invented by Chinese, and some says it was invented by Japanese. However, this was the recorded history that a man has tried to make his mathematical make his mathematical task little simpler using a machine. So abacus is the first of it. So then still some of the Chinese people, even Japanese people, are using this equipment to make their basic mathematics easy, right? And we actually don't know how to do. I actually don't know. Maybe you know how to do the calculation using the abacus, but still, it is the one which inspired the men, or like not actually inspiring. It is the one who give the first shot to the men to have something mechanical, or to build some machines regarding the computation, right? So the computer word abbreviated, or derived from the word computation. ගණනය කියන එකෙන් තමයි පරිගණනය කියන වචනේ හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ, right? So then with the what we call the mechanical revolution, කාර්මික විප්ලවය කියලා අපි කියන්නේ, with that particular thing, the people were like inventing a lot of machines to make their day-to-day life easy. So in 1642, it's the Blaise Pascal who has invented this machine called adding machine, which is considered as the first ever mathematical machine. ඒක හරියට calculator එකක් වගේම තමයි, but it's not an electronical thing. Like the current or the electricity is not involving with this machine. It's purely mechanical. එක හරියට අපේ paddling bike එකක් වගේ, right? Mountain bike එකක් වගේ, right? So we have to paddle ourselves to move forward, right? So it's purely mechanical. So this Blaise Pascal was inventing this particular machine called the add-in machine, which was considered as the first ever mathematical machine. So I'll show you a picture of this, right? Yeah, this is the Blaise Pascal. This picture is known as the Blaise Pascal. So I think this is him. I was referring it from the internet. And this is the add-in machine, the famous one. So in very first, it was capable of doing addition and subtraction, right? So later, the person called Gottfried Wilhelm was improving this machine to have the division and multiplication as well, right? So it was in 1964. So this is the person. So he was improving this to do the division and multiplication as well, which is a extension of a addition and subtraction, right? So there were places, or like there were inventions which was helping this particular machine to become or to reach the first ever computer in the history, right? මෙතනින් තමයි පටන් අරගෙන හිමින් හිමින් ඉස්සරහට යන්න පටන් ගන්න. So if I refer to your book, it is giving us more detail about this. Like it is talking about the Blaise Pascal and how he has invented the add-in machine, and this Gottfried Wilhelm, who has done the modification to do the multiplication and the division. So meanwhile, there was a person called Joseph Jacquard. He was not related. He was not very much into this mathematical side, but he was a weaver, right? Which has done this the looming stuff. So he has invented a card called punch card, which will help the Joseph to do the to make the patterns on their lumens, right? So what actually happens later, the people who were involved in with this computational area, or like who were like going in a journey to create a computer, is using this punch card as the major input to the computers. And I'll show you what a punch card is. So yeah, now this is how it looks alike, but actually this is something modern. But punch card is a card which has holes according to some pattern. Now later what has happened is when we are talking about the computer technologies, we talk about ones and zeros. And we say generally a computer can understand a 1 or a 0, right? So this 1 and the 0 yeah, Vinet, yes, Vinet is asking about this onboard keypad. Now it is just there in the Windows operating system. We call it on-screen keyboard. So if you search for the on-screen keyboard, you can have it. It is there in every operating system. Right. So like what we are like talking about, the punch card has these holes to indicate the zeros of the input. Now, in the very first time when Joseph Jacquard invented this, he never thought about these holes will become zeros and other places will become ones. නේද? සිදුරු ටික බිඳුව වෙලා අනිත් තැන් එක කියලා සලකන්න වෙයි කියලා එයා හිතුවේ නෑ. But when the people involved in this particular punch card with the computational things, they consider the holes as zeros and they consider the non-hole part as ones. So we generally tell that the computer can understand ones and zeros, right? So it matches with the concept of the punch card, right? So later, this punch card system was used by a person called Charles Babbage, right? Now this Charles Babbage is considered as the father of the computer. This is the person, right? So this Charles Babbage has invented a machine called analytical engine, right? I'm sorry, a difference engine. And in your book, I think they have referred it like analytical engine. Let me see. So they are like, yeah. So like, you better go with the analytical engine. So those are the A-level stuff. So he used this analytical engine to introduce the concept of inputting, processing, and outputting. So which is the concept still today, right? If we think about a particular system, and even we have talked about some particular systems at the beginning of our lesson. So regarding when data is becoming information, and still we are talking about this concept about an input, about an process, and about an output, right? So if we talk about an ATM machine, if we talk about a mobile phone, if we talk about a fingerprint machine, or any kind of a system, the base is inputting something, processing what has been inputted, and then outputting the result. So that particular concept was introduced by the person called Charles Babbage in 1880. And because of that, he was named as the father of the computer. Not because he has invented a computer. He never knows that there will be a very nice and cute machines like today, right? He never thought it will go to that particular point, but he was giving the concept, like it can have an input, it can process things, and you can have the output. So once the Charles Babbage has invented this, there was a lady who was very much into the programming side of this particular machine. And she was the one who was managing the punch cards to this particular system. Her name is Ada Augusta Lovelace. We considered her as the very first programmer. She's a woman, right? But if you think about today, most of the programmers are male, not females. I don't know why, because females got programming by their genes, right? That is why Ada Augusta Lovelace is there. Yeah. I'm just, excuse me, people, I have to answer this. Right. So we were talking about this difference engine or the analytical engine, which was invented by the Charles Babbage and the lady Ada Augusta Lovelace, the first programmer. නේද? දැන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපි අපේ ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එක අරන් බැලුවොත් software industry එක අරගෙන බැලුවොත් most of the programmers are male. පිරිමි අය තමයි වැඩිපුරම ඉන්නේ. ගැහැණු අය programming කරන ප්‍රමාණය හරි අඩුයි. But it is not something based on the gender, right? ගැහැණු ළමයි වේවා පිරිමි ළමයි වේවා programming කියන එක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. It's not based on the gender, right? Like everyone can experience that, everyone can learn that. So in our country there are many there is a huge cluster ලොකු කණ්ඩායමක් ඉන්නවා girls la IT පැත්තෙන් education එක අරගෙන but they are not committing to the industry, right? So it's time to do that, as the students like especially the girls who are involved in ICT, you have to have this career, right? And you have to develop some of these skills from this, like IT is one of the professions or like one of the sectors that will allow you to work from home. ගෙදර ඉඳන් වැඩ කරන්න දෙන එක sector එකක් තමයි ICT කියලා කියන්නේ, right? So don't miss the chance, right? Just have your life and earn from the knowledge that you are gaining, right? Okay, so when Ada Augusta Lovelace was creating the punch card to the Charles Babbage machine, she was recorded as the first programmer. And later in 1944, this particular person, the Howard Aiken, invented this machine called automatic sequence control calculator, right? And it was named later as the Mark I. And this is the milestone that they have invented, that they considered that they have invented a machine called computer, right? And this was the place that the age of or the eras or the generations of the computer was began, right? So then after we are going to talk about the generations. So before we jumped into the generations, let's go through this particular note, and it's better there are some things that we have to write down regarding the history. So it's better we start to write those things down, right? Yeah. So people, just yeah, did you got that, people? තේරුණාද මං කියපු දේ? මම දැන් ඉංග්‍රීසි මීඩියම් ක්ලාස් එක නිසා මේ දේ නිතර කියනවා. ඕගලන්ට මම කියන එක තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් තේරුණා මදි නම් it doesn't matter what I have talked. මම කතා කරේ මොකක්ද කියන එක ගැන හිතන්න එපා. So you can ask always, right? ඔයාලට තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් ඔයාලට කියන්න පුළුවන් සර් මට මේක තේරුන්නේ නැහැ සර් මට පොඩ්ඩක් ඒක සිංහලෙන් කියලා දෙන්න නැත්නම් ආයි කියලා දෙන්න කියලා, right? So you can ask it anywhere, like any time in like any place in the session, right? So don't worry, right? අවුගලන්ට මේක මේ විදිහට දාලා තියෙන්නේ මම කලින් කියලා තිබ්බා වගේ මේක කනට ඇහෙන්න ඕගලන්ට ලියන එක හිමින් හුරු වෙනවා. So don't worry, right? If you got a problem, just ask. It doesn't matter whether you are asking from English or Sinhala. Tamil වලින් අහන්න එපා. I don't know Tamil, right? So you can ask from those languages, right? Okay, so people, let's copy these things down to your book. So we have some stuff to copy down. So the main heading, evolution of the computer, right? Isit or isita මොනවාද පුතේ වචන ටික?
සර් අන්තිමට කියපු වාක්‍යයේ පොඩ්ඩයි ටික පොඩ්ඩක් කියලා දෙනවද?
මොන ටිකද පුතේ?
සර් අන්තිමටම කිව්වේ දැන්
මේ මොනවාද මේ IBM එකේ Mark 1 කියන එක ගැනද?
ඔව් සර්.
right. එතන තමයි මේ කියන්නේ මේ automatic sequence control calculator කියලා කියන්නේ එයාගේ නම, right? ඒක පස්සේ නම් කරනවා Mark 1 කියලා, right? ඒතර ඒක හොයාගන්නේ Howard Aiken කියන කෙනා. එයා Harvard University එකේ එයාගේ team එකක් එක්ක IBM company එකත් involve කරගෙන තමයි computer එක හදන්නේ. ඒක තමයි පළවෙනි mechanical computer එක, right? computer generations පටන් ගන්නවා කියන තැන සලකනු කරන තැන තමයි මෙතන mark 1 හොයාගන්න තැන. ඒතර එතන ඉඳලා ඉස්සරහට තියෙන්නේ generation wise. ඒ කියන්නේ පළවෙනි පරම්පරාව first generation, second generation, third generation මේ විදිහට තමයි continue වෙන්නේ. Right? Okay, clear the?
Thank you, sir.
Right, okay. Right, so people have the heading evolution of computer. Right, is it? Evolution of computer, then it's better you copy down. Yeah, starting from here. Yeah, I'm going to show some pictures, so you have to have the patience, right? Yeah, it's better you copy down these two lines first, right? Then I'll yeah, trim some things down to you. I'll tell what to be written. So first copy down the first two sentences as the first point regarding the evolution of computer. Right, people, I was disconnected due to a communication problems. I'll share the screen again. Right, are you done?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right, okay, so let's move forward. So as the very first point, yeah, so it's better you write down the very this particular point as the next point, right? And in the second point, there should be some amendments. I'll tell you what to be written, right? So first complete the first point. And people remember these, the second sentence in this point, like this was the world first ever mathematical machine. Those will be there in your MCQs in the paper, right? Paper. So have those or highlight those things, right?
සර් අනිත් ටිකත් මේ ලියාගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් ද එතන?
එපා ඔක්කොම ලියන්න යන්න එපා පුතේ මම ඒක මම හදලා කියනවා ඒකට අදාළව ලියාගමු අපි. So if you are done with the first point, let me know. Right. If everyone is done, we can proceed with the second point. Is there anyone still writing? Okay, so let's proceed. So the next point is going to be like this, right? When I say in 1674, Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz. So it's a little bit harder to pronounce. So the name is there on the screen. Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz. I don't know whether it is being pronounced in a very different manner. So I just use the phonetics to do this particular pronunciation. So in 1674, Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz improved the adding machine, to perform multiplication and division. To perform multiplication and division. Got that? In 1674, Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz improved the adding machine to perform multiplication and division. That's enough. Multiplication and division. Full stop. Right, as the next point, write it like this. A French scientist named Joseph Jacquard. The name is on the screen. I'm highlighting the things. A French scientist named Joseph Jacquard invented the punch card. Invented the punch card. Right. So if you are done with those 2 points regarding the father of the computer, the Charles Babbage, yeah, you have to go through the entire paragraph, write down the entire paragraph. Let me know when you are done, right?
Done, sir.
Right, one is done. How about the others? Right. So moving forward, regarding Madam Ada Augusta Lovelace, yes, you have to copy down that as well. It's just 2 lines. And of course, people, regarding the Mark 1, you have to go through the entire thing as well. So from Madam Ada Augusta Lovelace until the Mark 1.
Finish.
Right. How about others? One is finished.
Done, sir.
Right, okay. Is there anyone still copying from the screen? Yes? Anyone? Yeah, I got two raised hands. So, yeah, Helindu and who's the other one? He said Isita. That's a good question. Risara or Risara? Risara, I think. Risara, it's not like after the punch card, like Babbage just invented a machine called analytical engine. So like Babbage was working on that with the concept of the punch card. The punch card is the one which was invented earlier, like not like Charles Babbage has seen that punch card was invented, so I have to go and invent the analytical engine. The Babbage was going on his mission, and the punch card was there in the timeline, so he used that because he was just understanding this machine is going to learn in ones and zeros. එක බින්දු පාවිච්චි කරලා තමයි මේක වැඩ කරන්නේ. ඒක නිසා මේ punch card එකේ තියෙන hole එකක් බින්දුව විදිහට ගන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් තැන් 1 විදිහට consider කරගන්න පුළුවන් කියන idea එකෙන් තමයි යාත ගහන්න ඇත්තේ. I think, right? I really don't know what the story is, right? I never go to that particular deep in the history, but I think it may be the story, right? Okay, so people, I'm going to show you how the Mark 1 works, right? So let's have some video. And I'm going to share the screen with sounds. And
the following video is presented by the Computer History Archives Project.
Yeah, I will. ඔයගලන්ගේ group එකට දැම්මේ නැද්ද links ටික කලින් මේ වගේ මම දාන්න. Look, now this is how it is today, right? මේ අත් තියෙන විදිහ.
In 1944, IBM introduced the Automatic Sequence Controlled Calculator, or ASCC, the largest electromechanical calculator in the world. It was a general-purpose electromechanical computer that was used in the war effort during the last part of World War II. The original concept for this giant calculator was presented to IBM by Dr. Howard Aiken in November of 1937. After a feasibility study by IBM's engineers, Thomas Watson Sr., head of IBM, personally approved the project and its funding in February 1939. The ASCC was developed and built by IBM at their Endicott plant and shipped to Harvard in February 1944. It began computations for the U.S. Navy in May and was officially presented to the Harvard University on August 7, 1944. IBM's automatic sequence-controlled calculator became known as Harvard Mark I by Harvard University staff and others. The Mark I was the first operating machine that could execute long computations automatically. The Mark I was 51 feet long. It used 500 miles of wire with over 3 million connections, 3,500 relays, and thousands of counters and switches. It was truly a giant of its time. The Mark I read its instructions from a 24-channel punched paper tape. The first programmers of the Mark I were computing pioneers Richard Milton Block, Robert Campbell, and Grace Hopper. Because of its speed, in March of 1944, the Mark I was used to run mathematical computations in support of the Manhattan Project's atomic research. The Mark I was officially taken offline in 1959 after 15 years of service. Portions of it remain at Harvard University today.
So it's the punch card system that is working on these papers. that's what happens with the Mark 1. Right. So did you notice the it shows you the punch card, like the punch card system, not actually a punch card. The
The
punch
Mark
card
I
system
read its
that they were
instructions
using.
from a 24-channel punched paper tape.
See? Oh.
The Mark I read paper tape. The first programmers of the Mark I.
See? So the what we call the number sequence or some messages is at the right side. The ones and zero conversion is given like a punch card, right? So that's how they
Sir,
were
binary
using it.
numbers නේ sir.
මොකද්ද පුතේ?
Binary numbers වලින් නේ sir මේ වැඩ කරන්නේ.
Yes, yes. අදටත් කම්පියුටර් එක වැඩ කරන්නේ බයිනරි බේස් වෙලා තමයි. So එදා ඉඳලා මේ වැඩේ හැන්ඩල් කරගත්තේ. දැන් එදා හැන්ඩල් කරගත්තේ මේකෙන්. අද වෙනකොට ඒක මයික්‍රෝ කන්ට්‍රෝලර්ස්, ICs, transistors ඔය ඔක්කොගෙම එකතුවක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. Right? All right, people. So I'm going to take your attention into the next part of your textbook, which is describing about the what you call the generations of the computer. All right. So since these pages are in the vertical manner, I'm going to take the pictures that I have saved from this particular book. So just a second. Yeah. So this is the first generation computer and the qualities of it, right? So like with the Mark 1, I told you they have create a milestone එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ හැරවුම් ලක්ෂයක් කියලා අපි කියනවා, right? So they create a milestone of the computer. So they beginning to talk about a new machine called computer, and it was the first step, or like the first day of the first generation, right? So which was starting from 1940 to 1956. So the major technology that they use is the vacuum tubes. Now I'll show you what a vacuum tube is, right? So now this is what you call the vacuum tube. So it was invented by Howard Aiken in 1939, like when he's doing this no, it was used by the Howard Aiken in 1939, and it was invented in 1906, right? So like this is something very similar to a bulb, right? And when it is working, it makes a very a considerable amount of heat. Like like the electricity or the power will be waste as the heat. Electricity වලින් එන ඔක්කොම දේ අපි කියන්නේ බල්බ් එකක සිද්ධ වෙන දේ නේ. අපි බල්බ් එකකින් ආලෝකය ලබා ගන්නකොට තාපය අපි කියනවා හානි වීමක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා කියලා. ශක්තිය විදිහට අපතේ යෑමක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා කියලා. right? අපතේ යන්නේ ඇයි? අපි එකෙන් වැඩක් ගන්න නැති නිසා. නේද? අපිට බල්බ් එකක් කවර් කරලා ඉවරලා ඒකෙන් හීට් එක ගන්න බෑනේ. So බල්බ් එක තියෙනවා, ඒක රත් වෙන නිසා තාපයේ විදිහට යම්කිසි ප්‍රමාණයක් හානි වෙනවා කියලා අපි කතා කරනවා. So in the very same way, the vacuum tube is there to create the circuit of the first computers, and since it is like it is generating a greater heat, some power was like wasting away as the heat. So due to that, the very first computers were generating a lot of heat as well as consuming a considerable amount of electricity, because then අපිට වැඩක් කරගන්න electricity 1000යි නම් ඕනේ. ඒ 1000න් කොටසක් තාපයේ විදියට හානි වෙනකොට අර 1000 සපය ගන්න ඔයාලට 1000ට වඩා වැඩිපුර ප්‍රමාණයක් පාවිච්චි කරන්න වෙනවා, right? So and this was considerably big, right? මෙයා හින්දා මෙයා එක හේතුවක් to make the first ever computers, like the first generation computers, big as as we see in Mark 1, right? I'll show you another picture. This is not the Mark 1, but this is again a place where they're working with a computer which was made for a specific purpose. And this particular computer is big as a room, or like as a hall in your school. All right, so like a lot of people are involved in inside the computer, unlike today. Then අපි computer එක ඇතුලේ වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. But there were people inside this, and very simple operations has happened through the computer comparing to today, right? So I'm sorry. Yeah, excuse me. So they had this specific but the temperature controlling system, or in other words AC systems in their places where they have used this like where they have maintained these computers. So සමහර වෙලාවට ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා like they had a canal, පොඩි ඇලක් තිබුණා කියලා මේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඔය තියෙන හෝල් එක මැද්දේ වතුර දාලා වතුර නිසා heat absorb කරනවා ඉක්මනට, so to maintain the heat inside. දැන් මේ picture එකෙත් ඔයගලන්ට මේ උඩ දකින්න හම්බෙන්නේ ඔය coils විදිහට, those are the AC systems, right? Bulbs තියෙනවා වෙනම, so like AC systems were there. So it was huge, but and again it was a very huge step to create the computer, right? And if I move to the other qualities of the first generation, so the vacuum tubes were there. It is the major technology that they were using. And as we talk, the punch card are used to do the input, process, and output. Now you have seen, or you have witnessed how the things happens with the Mark I. And machine language, as the softwares, it was the machine language that they used. Machine language is none other than ones and zeros, right? So there is nothing called any separate thing like machine language. Even today, our computers are using machine language to execute things. Then අපි මොකක් හරි programming language එකකින් දෙයක් හැදුවම it is not a machine language thing. It is a programming language specific thing. අපි Java වලින් මොනවා හරි දෙයක් කරොත් ඒක අපිට තේරෙන code එකක් තියෙනවා. So that particular code is going to be converted into ones and zeros from the program from the softwares called translators. Translators ලා කියලා ජාතියක් තියෙනවා, software program එකක් තියෙනවා. හැම programming language එකකටම අද කාලේ පාවිච්චි කරන හැම programming language එකකටම integrate වෙලා යන යත් එක්ක මේක package එකක් විදිහට එනවා. So programming languages are help us to code in a way that we can understand. අපිට තේරෙන විදිහට code කරන්න programming language එක අපිට උදව් කරනවා. Java වල අපි code කරන්නේ English වලින්. Right? So English තමයි major language එක තියෙන්නේ. ඒතකොට English වලින් අපි program එක ලියනවා. So later that English program or the instructions will be converted into the machine language, which is ones and zeros, and which can be identified and understand by the computer or the machine. Machine එකට ඉංග්‍රීසි තේරුම් ගන්න බෑ. So in the very first era, there were no any translation happens. The human has to write the program in ones and zeros. That is why they have used the punch cards. Punch card පාවිච්චි කරලා ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ feed කරේ ones and zeros pattern එක. Right? So you can see, you witness how long and how big the program was. නේද? අර ගොඩාක් paper rolls තිබ්බ මතකයිනේ. So like it is feed into the computer in that manner, and the computer understand it's in the machine language format and respond regarding to that. And in assembly language was a very it is again very closer to the machine language, but it used some little English language, little English words which we call mnemonics. අපි mnemonics කියලා හඳුන්වන පොඩි ඉංග්‍රීසි වචන කීපයක් පාවිච්චි කරා assembly language එක ලියනකොට. So it is little bit closer to the human, but still it is very much closer to the machine language. And a stored program concept was used. Stored program concept means they can store the several different programs in a one particular storage device, and then they can feed it to the computer at once. So computer will execute those programs one after the other when it has those things in it, right? So those are the softwares used, and the characteristics as we talk about. its high heat generation was there, and it is slow in processing, right, and large in size, as you saw, and it is not portable, right? Other කාලේ වගේ නේද? Mobile mobility කියලා එකක් කිසිසේත්ම හිතන්නවත් බැරි කාලයක් ඒක, right? And consumes lot of electricity as we talk, and it is very expensive. And the Mark 1 කියන එක අපි කතා කරනකොට මේ වීඩියෝ එකේ කිව්වනේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒක පාවිච්චි කරලා තිබ්බේ military purposes වලට කියලා, right? The Navy was using that particular computer to do their military work. So it's a, we call it a general purpose computer. Like general purpose computer කියලා කියන්නේ like එක මේ මොකක් හරි specific වැඩකට target කරලා හදලා තියෙන machine එකක් වුණා, right? And some of the examples are given to you, like ENIAC, EDVAC, EDSAC, and UNIVAC, and all these things. So that is the summary of the first generation, right? So it's better you write down this particular stuff into your book. So I need to copy this down. ඔගොල්ලෝ පොතක නම් ඒ කියන්නේ පොඩි පොතක නම් මේක කරන්නේ පිටු දෙකක් අරගෙන ලියන්න ඉඩ මදි වෙයි. CR book එක නම් ඒක හරස් අතට horizontal අතට පාවිච්චි කරන්න. Otherwise you won't be having enough room, right? So people, you have to start writing. You have to have the same different columns. So since there are second generation, I'll talk about it later, right? It's better you start writing the first generation, right? So please copy it down. So we'll talk the second generation, about the second generation later, right? Isita, I'll visit there and see what happens, right? You better send me the link at the end of the class. Huh?
Okay, sir. අන්තිමටම තියෙන්නේ මොකද්ද?
මොකද පුතේ?
සිස්ටම් ඉන්වෙන්ටඩ් එකේ සෙකන්ඩ් ජෙනරේෂන් කම්පියුටර්ස් වල අර යුනිවැක් කියන එකට යටින් තියෙන්නේ.
පුතේ second generation ලියා ගන්න උවමනද? උවමනා නැහැ second generation ලියා ගන්න පටන් ගත්තද? කමක් නැහැ second generation ඉවර කරන්නකො එහෙනම් කමක් නැහැ.
ඔව් සර්.
කමන්න no problem ලියා ගන්න ඉවර කරන්න no problem.
ඉවරයි සර් ඒක විතරයි තියෙන්නේ.
හරි. So others, it's better you go until the second generation ends. Yeah, people, ඔගොල්ලෝ මේක ලියලා ඉවරනම් පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්ඩිකේට් කරන්න පුතේ මට පොඩ්ඩක් මීටින් එකට යන්න වෙනවා මම කලින් කියපු එක දැන් පටන් අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ මම චුට්ටක් එක්ස්කියුස් කරලා ඉන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලොත් එක්ක so when you are done just let me know so like we are ending the class like 15 minutes earlier අපි ඉස්සරහා සෙෂන් එකකදී ඒක කවර් කරගමු ලියලා ඉවර අය ලීව් වුණාට කමක් නැහැ ලියන අය ලියන්න මම ඉතින් එකේ මේකේ ඉන්න ඕගොල්ලෝ ලියලා ඉවර වෙනකන් no worries is it ඔයා මට WhatsApp message එකක් එවනවද පුතේ? Right, so the people who are leaving, thank you
sir.
very much and have a good night. Right, ඉෂිත මට WhatsApp message එකක් එවන්න මේ ඔයාගේ නමක් දාලා පොඩ්ඩක්
night,
check
sir.
කරලා බලන්න කියලා. Right,
sir මේ කීයට විතර දෙවන්න ඕනේ?
ඔයා දැන් මට එවල තියෙන මම ගිහිල්ලා බලන්නම් පුතේ. මොකක් කරේ අවුල තිබ්බොත් මම කියන්නේ මම බලන්නම් මොකක්ද කියලා මට. ඒ කියන්නේ මොකක්ද
okay,
වෙලා
sir.
තියෙන්නේ කියලා බලන්න විදිහක් නැති වෙයි. access කරන්න පුළුවන් දෙයක්ද කියලා මම පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්නම්. Right.
sir. Thank you
Right,
for
okay.
the session, sir.
Right, thank you everyone. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Right, okay, good
Take
night.
care.
Good night.
Excuse me, sir.
ඔව් පුතේ.
Sir, අද second generation එක ගැන කතා කරන්නේ නැද්ද?
නෑ පුතේ මම දැන් ලීව් කරන්න හදන්නේ ඒකයි මම ඔයාලට මේක ලියා ගන්න කිව්වේ මට ස්ක්‍රීන් එක තියන්න පුළුවන් මම අනිත් පැත්තෙන් තව මීටින් එකක් කෝල් කරලා තියෙනවා ඒකට මම යන්න ඕනේ මිනිස්ට්‍රි එකෙන් මේක ලියලා ඉවර නම් ලීව් වුණාට කමක් නැහැ
Okay, sir. Thank you,
right
sir.
okay right okay
Good night, sir.
good night right good night everyone take care yes මං links ටික දාන්නම් දැන් right so thank you very much yeah Piyusha are you still writing